This is an overview of the floor plan of the 12th floor where the fire occurred. The fire originally started in this area here, spread rapidly throughout the entire 360 degrees of the floor. One of the reasons for the rapid spread was that there were very few floor-to-ceiling partitions to stop the fire, and it was basically workstations, computer workstations throughout the entire area with some offices.
At midnight, after nearly 3 hours, the fire is still out of control, but the turning point is declared.
I want you to get hold of Chief Ramirez. We're going to make our big stand on 416.
I was very concerned in setting up my plan that if we did not stop the fire on the 16th floor, that we had the potential grew dramatically to lose the entire building. And that is based on the amount of resources that you can put into the building. As the fire crews work longer on the floors and are sent from one floor to another, they must go back to staging to replenish their air supply, their hoses. They're getting tireder. They can't work straight through for 30, 40 minutes at a time. They have to take a rest.
It was touch and go.
We're still laughing, and we're going to lose a couple more floors at least in this building.
But finally,
about 01:45, I got a report that the fire had in fact extended under the 17th floor. We deployed resources onto 17 and 18. That proved not to be the case, and in fact, about 15 minutes later, I was feeling somewhat more comfortable from the helicopter reports and the internal reports that in fact we were getting a handle on the fire. I requested Chief DeLuca, who was in the operations at that time, to survey all the floors, including the 5 floors above the fire, before we would call a knockdown to make sure we had no extension anywhere, at least 5 floors above number 16. We got that confirmation at 02:19 in the morning, almost 3 hours and 40 minutes after the first alarm. I said, thank God. Because of the resources that this department has and were available to us, some 60 firefighting companies, 20 ambulances, and over 300 personnel were used to combat this fire successfully. Certainly, there are many cities that do not have those resources, and the results of this fire would have been different in many cities throughout this country.
Los Angeles City Fire Department just experienced the most challenging high-rise fire in its history. In the city of Los Angeles, we have 750 high-rise buildings. 450 of those do not have sprinklers in them, except possibly in the basement areas. This fire required the largest commitment of personnel that we have put on any single structure fire. My personal belief is that it was through individual effort and the heroics, the commitment, the courage of our people that actually caused the fire to be put out. There were heavy physical and emotional demands that were placed on them, and I think we're going to find those actually playing out over a long period of time. People are actually going to physically be getting over this fire, and emotionally they're going to be recovering. I think the lessons that we've learned from this particular fire will actually make high-rise buildings safer in the future. It's a challenge to us all to meet that, to make them safer, to put the sprinkler systems in, to protect the stair shafts, to provide adequate equipment for firefighters to be able to mitigate any situation that happens in these buildings.
with the fire out, in fact within just 30 minutes after the fire started, First Interstate's emergency operations plan was underway here at the Garland Operations Center, 7 blocks away from the tower. The center was fully operational before the fire was extinguished. First priority was to assure the safety and protection of people and property. The second was to stay in business with as little disruption as possible. A major concern was how to continue the millions of dollars a day in currency and securities trading that had been done on the 12th floor. The solution was to fly key employees to trading desks in London, Tokyo, New York, and San Francisco. Then, how to protect the billions of bytes of computer data that are the traders' daily grist. The solution, activate a mainframe backup system.
We input all of our trading information into a center in Minneapolis, in fact, and at 4 o'clock the morning of the fire, we were able to retrieve all of that information.
With the displacement of administrative headquarters and the disruption of services at the bank branch in the tower, customers had to be reassured of continued normal operations. They did this with letters to individual customers of the retail branch bank and with phone calls to wholesale, corporate, and trading customers. By Monday, 96 hours after the fire, a temporary branch was opened downtown, a half block from the Tower branch. A piece of good news was that despite the 2,000-degree heat of the fire, a fireproof vault holding $100 million in securities and bonds did its job. First Interstate's emergency business resumption plan had been developed over the past 2 years at a cost of $1.5 million. Money obviously well spent.
We tested it with an earthquake scenario not too long ago, and we felt that it worked. One of the important things, and perhaps one of the most singularly important things we did in our planning, was to develop an emergency operations center, because from the outset we had a structured plan. We had a place for people to go. We had a place where people knew what was expected of them, and they went and performed their duties. And in the course of an emergency, we found that within a very short time, things got stabilized, chaos was minimized, and people were functioning in a very positive and forward manner.
The expertise that was dedicated to the Emergency Operations Center, once the life safety issues were over, everybody just rolled into their responsibilities. The communication was good. The effort was continuous for many, many hours. Many people just didn't go home for a day or two so that we could get back into business, and it worked.
Any surprises in your emergency planning?
One of the things that I guess surprised us more than anything else is that we actually had the phone numbers and the locations of all of the key people that we needed to assemble. And what surprised us is that we were able to get those people and get them assembled in a couple of hours. So the surprise was almost how flawlessly getting the people together worked, and that was the critical element, getting them together and getting them together right away.
People have done an outstanding job, absolutely no question about it. I might also add that what also made it possible that even the day after, the very critical day, we made money, and perhaps that is as good a test as any.
It's going to be difficult for me to find the proper words to describe the scene that was presented before me last Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. And it's going to be equally difficult for me to find adjectives to describe the success of the Los Angeles Fire Department during that time. I suspect I can find courage and dedication and heroism and words of that nature, but I feel they almost fail to describe the work and the effort of the brave people that did such excellent work to save our building at that time. It would also be similarly difficult for me to express my thanks for what you have done, for you have exhibited the very finest. Your training certainly came to bear, your skills came to bear, all of those things that prevented a tragedy from being even worse, infinitely worse than it might otherwise have been. From all of us at First Interstate Bank, let me express our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you. Thank you very, very much.
It is clear that were it not for the skill, determination, and heroism of our firefighters, this high-rise fire in Los Angeles could have been a much greater disaster. It is equally true that we were fortunate that First Interstate Bank had done its best to prepare for such an eventuality. Things did not go exactly as planned. In this or in any other emergency, there is always the element of human error which no one can foresee. But there is no denying that things would have turned out much worse without that planning. It is nothing short of amazing that because First Interstate Bank had a recovery plan in place, there was hardly any disruption of their business. I believe this experience speaks eloquently to the benefits of disaster response planning, not only on the part of public safety agencies, but also on the part of the private sector. This year in Los Angeles, the city is embarking on a community-wide program to train citizens in their neighborhoods how to respond to emergencies. With the help of the fire department, we're training volunteer emergency response teams throughout the city. The high-rise fire we experienced convinces me beyond any doubt that preparedness does pay. It saves lives and property.